love Antarctica. I love spending time there, but I think I've had enough. We've got to get these guys out of there. Now, I think that this year is the year that we can do it because finally we're in a position where we have the resources to actually get on them as quickly as we possibly can and lock them down. And as long as we're on their stern slipway, I can guarantee they will not kill any whales. Last year, we stopped them for 43 days. And during those 43 days, they did not kill any whales. The problem we had last year is that when we left Fremantle, we were surprised because they sent out airplanes to find us, and then they put harpoon vessels on our stern, which cost them an awful lot of money. And they trailed us everywhere we go. Now, we couldn't close in on the factory ship because the harpoon vessels, which are faster than us, would simply relay our position to the Nishan Maru, and it would avoid us. So that's why it took us a month and a half to close in on that fleet. And when we finally closed in on them, we were able to shut them down. But if we can get there earlier, we can do it. And that's why we're bringing this fast interceptor vessel. It's faster than any of the harpoon vessels. Its job will be to go down there and find the fleet and direct us right to it. So the two big ships will be directed into the fleet. And if we can get there by the middle of December, we can stop them before they even begin. So our objective this year, last year was 52% success rate. Our objective this year is 100%. That's what we're going for. We expect them to be far more aggressive this year because Australia and New Zealand pretty much green-lighted them to be as violent as they can this year by not taking action against their violent actions against us this last year. Remember, the Audi Gill was a New Zealand registered vessel cut in half by a Japanese vessel, and New Zealand did absolutely nothing.
What?
And that's just despicable. I mean, they did not stand up for the flag of New Zealand on a New Zealand registered vessel and basically just sort of apologized to the Japanese because this happened. As the foreign minister in New Zealand said, well, he actually said this, what do you expect when you go down there trying to kill people? We've never hurt anybody. We have no intention of hurting anybody. They're trying to kill people. In fact, our dedication to nonviolence has been exceptional, I think. In 33 years, we've never injured a single person. We've never been convicted of a felony, and we've never been sued. Criminals don't like to take you to court. And I think that our attitude or our philosophy, which I call aggressive nonviolence, was best summed up back to the fact in 1985, I had a Tibetan Buddhist monk come to our ship, and he gave me a little statue. And he says, oh, I've been told to give this to you. And I said, what is it? And he says, well, I've just been told to give it to you. And could you put it up on your mast? And I said, well, okay, if a Tibetan Buddhist monk comes along, gives you a little statue, tells you to put it up on the mast, put it up on the mast, it can't hurt. So we put it up there, it's a nice colorful little thing with wings and a horse's head. And a few years later, in 1989, I had the very incredible opportunity to sit down and talk with the Dalai Lama. Found out he had sent it to us. And I said, well, what is it? And he says, oh, it's a symbol it's called Hayagriva. And I said, well, what's that? And he says, well, it symbolizes the compassionate aspect of Buddha's wrath. So that sounds pretty ominous. What does that mean? And he looked at me, as only the Dalai Lama can, gave a little smile, and said, oh, you never want to hurt anybody, but sometimes when they cannot see enlightenment, scare the hell out of them until they do. So that's why our ships are black and we fly the Jolly Roger, and we're intimidating, but we don't really want to hurt anybody. We're out there to save lives, not to injure anybody. Japanese make a big deal about us throwing acid in their face. It's rotten butter. Beer's more acidic. Citric acid is orange juice, lactic acid is milk, and butyric acid is rotten butter. But they make this big deal about, oh my God, we got assaulted with rotten butter. But it makes it sound like sulfuric acid the way they're going there. Meanwhile, they're throwing over, nuts and bolts and shooting at us with water cannons, doing all sorts of things like that, and that's all well and good. Last year, we actually hit them with the crocodile eggs. I don't know if you recall that we were having people sponsor these crocodile eggs. And we got an opportunity to throw them on the deck, and they were great because as soon as they get wet, up pops these big styrofoam crocodiles, and they did have no idea what that was all about. All I can say is that a vessel named Steve Irwin is going to throw some crocodiles. So that was a lot of fun. But I want to say that the reason we're effective down there has everything to do with three different groups of people. First is the crew on board these ships. I could not pay people to take the risks that these people take. The passion that they bring to this cause is incredible. You know, we get criticized on whale wars by people saying, oh, you know, your crew aren't very professional, you know, pretty amateurish, you know, you need professionals. No, we don't. Professionals don't do what these guys do. Every time I've had a professional on board, so I'm not doing that, it's not in my contract, you know? So that's the most important thing, the passion of our volunteers. And the next group of people are our shore volunteers, the ones who are, you know, raising the money for us to do this, the ones that are promoting our cause and educating people, talking in schools, who are on the corners, you know, selling our merchandise and not taking a commission for doing what they're doing. I mean, all over the world now we're having people who are getting involved as shore volunteers, and this is a very, very important part of what makes us successful. And the third group are our supporters around the world. Navies have taxpayers, we don't. So it's those supporters who are our voluntary taxpayers. So they give us the resources to do what we need to do. And what we do is very, very expensive. Operating a ship is an incredibly expensive thing to do. Someone once described owning a sailboat as standing under a cold shower, dropping $100 bills down the drain continuously. That's pretty much the experience. Owning 3 ships, well, that's a lot of $100 bills going down, and the water we get is even colder. So it costs us a lot of money to keep those ships running. And it's the skills and the passion of our volunteers, plus the funding that we get, that allows us to do what we do. We are a Navy, and we're a Navy who's a unique Navy because our job is to protect the world's oceans. You know, Jacques Cousteau said just before he died, he said, the oceans are dying in our time, and if the navies of the world had any sense of moral responsibility, they would be defending the oceans instead of playing silly little war games with each other. I mean, actually, the navies have the ships, they have the ships to do the job, but now they're not doing that. They're too busy using sonar to kill whales and dolphins in the ocean. That's so we can defend ourselves from Al-Qaeda submarines. I haven't really seen one, but according to them, they must be out there because that's what they're using. They're testing it on to stop terrorism. I don't know what kind of terrorists are running around the submarines that they need low-frequency sonar, but the reason that low-frequency sonar is there is because back in the Reagan days, they invested billions of dollars into a defense system, and once they invest this money into a defense system, they continue to do it, even though if there's no longer any reason to do it. It's sort of a mindless military-industrial complex thing like that, but that's one of the things that not many people talk about is the number of whales and dolphins that are killed by low-frequency sonar experiments by navies around the world. And it literally bursts the eardrums of these animals and contributes to the increase in strandings of these whales all over the world. This next year, after we return from the Southern Oceans, we will be going back to the Mediterranean to protect Blue Fin Tuna. We'll be going on to the Faroe Islands to protect pilot whales there, and many other different places where we're needed. In the Galapagos Islands, we're now working in full partnership with the Ecuadorian Federal Police and the Galapagos Park Rangers. This year we're installing a €1 million AIS system into the Galapagos so we can monitor all ships coming in and out of the Marine Reserve, and this is contributing significantly to the number of poachers that are coming in there. A couple of years ago, 300,000 sharks a year were being killed illegally in the Marine Reserve, and so we're cutting that down. Which brings me to the question of sharks. I know a shark attack happened here just a couple of days ago, and this is very tragic, especially for the person who is attacked. But we have to put this in perspective. The average number of people killed by sharks every year is 5. The average numbers, well, the number of sharks that are killed every year by people is 75 to 90 million.